The Salt Lake mission is really unique in that there are now 6 missions in Salt Lake, and when I got there, there was only 3. So my mission split twice in 18 months, and then another mission split once. And so there was about 250 missionaries when I started, and then they split the mission after 2 weeks of being there and made the West mission, and half those missionaries came, and we got half the missionaries from the Ogden mission. So the work in Salt Lake is going really fast. There's so much to do. And so each mission of the 6 missions, including Temple Square, has at least 200 to 250 missionaries. My mission went up to Layton. That was the farthest north we went. And then it went to East Salt Lake, like 45th south. And then the East mission, which is what we had for the first year, went all the way up to Rock Springs, Wyoming. And then they made Park City a part of that mission as well, but I never had that. So it's kind of hard because the boundaries changed so much, but right now my mission includes from East Salt Lake to Layton, Utah. My first area on my mission was really unique in that I covered 3 stakes, and that was a lot because you had to learn 35 ward mission leaders, 35 bishops, and it was a highly concentrated LDS community. And so doing missionary work was different in that you couldn't do missionary work unless you met with the members, because they were the only ones that knew where people of our faith lived, and even those that maybe have a hard time might need a visit. So that was kind of a unique thing, and most of them that lived in East Salt Lake tended to work for the church. So everywhere we went was surrounded with LDS people. The farther you go west, the more like people not of our faith, that's where most of them lived. So after that I transferred to Holiday, Utah, which was similar in that it was a little bit like kind of a poorer area. I mean, it's still pretty classy and like high end, but there were parts that were really rough. And so I think the main feeling that I got there is that that was kind of like a lot of place where people didn't like the church very much. There was a lot of anti-people that lived there. And so that was an interesting demographic because we'd knock on the door, and whereas in East Salt Lake, everyone was like, "Hi, sisters, so good to see you." Or there it was like, "Oh, we don't want to talk to you ever." But that was a really good time in my mission. It was kind of a refiner's fire because it really taught me whoa, do you really believe this stuff? When you're challenged. And so that was an interesting area. Most people there, middle class people that did all sorts of different things. Wasn't a whole lot of cultural diversity there. And then I got transferred to Rose Park, which was the complete opposite. Extremely humble people, mostly Hispanic and Tongan. There were a lot of Polynesians in Rose Park, and I love that area just because the people were very warm and accepting. And that was just west of Salt Lake, so it's really quite close. So a lot of people there also worked for the church, those that were members, but the ratio of members to non-members was a lot. There weren't as many members there in Rose Park. And I stayed there for about 4.5 months. And after that, I transferred to Davis County, where I served in Centerville, Kaysville, Layton, and Farmington. And if you can think of Utah, that's people think of Utah as where all the LDS people or the Mormons are. That's where you would go to find them. It's so concentrated, and the culture there it's very LDS and Mormon-y. And I loved it. It was great. It was a good experience. But I also found out that although there are so many members that live there, there's so much need, even among the members that just they need help spiritually, they need help physically, they need help emotionally in every possible way. So I was kind of sad to get transferred there after Rose Park, where we were teaching all the time, but it ended up to be one of the better parts. And Layton was kind of unique in that there's a military base there, and so we got to meet people from everywhere in the world, which was awesome. I also served Chinese speaking, so throughout that, in those different areas, I would also go all over Utah. I even went to Lehi once to teach Chinese people because there weren't that many where we were, so that was a good experience. Well, about a third of my mission I served Chinese speaking, and some of the foods that we ate there were really different and unique. One of the things that we ate a lot was, it's called baozi, and it's kind of like a dumpling thing, and it's filled with really, like, sometimes they put meat in it, sometimes they put, just vegetables like carrots and like I even had rice in it one time, but it was really good. The first time I tried it, I was like, this is amazing. But then I also had a dinner appointment where they fed us the pig feet, and it was like pickled pig feet. And most of the time at like dinner appointments, Chinese people, they have like 10 different dishes, and then they have the lazy Susan that just like spins around, and everyone just grabs food with their chopsticks and they just like shovel their food. And I didn't really know how to do that, and I had specifically been warned not to eat the pig feet because it was disgusting. And this older Chinese woman, her name was Liu, she came over and she just would stand behind my back and make sure that I got something from each dish and watch my reactions as I ate it. And it was really hard not to gag because pickled pig feet is disgusting. And then I also had a man that came back one day and he was like, "Sisters, I have a treat for you." He's like, "I went into the canal and I got these creatures for you to eat." And they look like centipedes. They're about this long and they would curl up when you ate them, and they were red. And I'm not a picky eater, but I don't like anything from the ocean really. Maybe shrimp. But that was really hard to eat and be happy and be like, "Oh, thank you so much, brother. Like, that was great." So that was definitely hard. And then when I was serving in English areas, so many potatoes, so many pasta casseroles. I am so sick of pasta casseroles and potatoes. But that was pretty good. English people were great. They fed us well. Everybody gained a lot of weight. It's great. Yeah, Chinese New Year was really fun. I didn't get to do a whole lot because my companion got to stay for the ward party and I had to go teach. But we just got so much food. Oh my gosh. I mean, for days, for weeks afterwards, they would say, "Oh, sisters, we have food from New Year," and it'd get dropped off. But it was just fun to see their culture and kind of how they made this their home. They tried to make Salt Lake feel like they were in China or Taiwan.